Hey ladies and gentlemen of the internet, Adrian here with yet another haul of gaming slash retro tech slash just tech in general. Things I've picked up for the last couple of days, weeks, dare I say even months. I just want to jump right into it, starting with this guy right here. That over there. That over there is a Panasonic CRT that I picked up almost a month ago from a retro game store in San Jose. I've been meaning to get like a CRT for the collection. I wanted something a little bit more practical while I'm still in this kind of setup versus getting like 100+ pound Sony CRT. So I opted for this Panasonic that I found at sale, one of these retro game stores. It's crazy what these TVs go for nowadays, even because like the price value in this retro market has shot it up. Obviously, you can bargain hunt for these. You can find these in the garbage bin. You can probably find these in some of your old houses and so on and so forth. But yeah, I paid right around like 100+ bucks for that. Somewhat embarrassed to say, but like I said, it was the most practical in size. It's like a 13 to 14 inch TV. They were playing in the store, showed it worked fine. Even has the fun VCR in there. So yeah, it's a Panasonic OmniVision. I'm not 100% sure on the model here, but I know it's like a 1996, 97 model when I did look it up on eBay. One suggestion, one quick tip, and I'm glad I listened to Reddit here. When you get into this whole CRT scene, whether it's for like retro gaming or just decor or what have you, or you just have one laying around and you're going to use it, if you can, clean the inside. I think it was one thing, like this thing was pretty solid on the outside externally, and I gave it a once pass over, but I'm glad I took it up a week or two after I got it upstairs and did a deep dive clean. I opened it up while being careful, of course, because these are CRT TVs, and did a deep clean inside because, needless to say, there was a bunch of fun stuff that had been previously inhabiting the inside of this TV, and imagining these things being so old and wherever history they have. Yeah, not fun, but I am very, very glad that I got that cleaned up for my own sanity of having that here in my home office. All right, but that aside, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other stuff I've picked up here. Alrighty, so here we are at the workstation here. Let's go ahead and sort through some of the stuff, because I feel like I do a part of these videos, one, to, of course, showcase things I've added to the collection and so on, but also just kind of remind myself of things I got and force myself to hopefully play or interact or use said things. That's the hard part with like collecting and stuff like that. Like, you get to a point as a collector where you take breaks and you kind of question sanity and do I want to keep on doing this? Anyways, to kind of stay on theme with when I picked up that CRT TV, the main reason I was out in the San Jose area was actually to go to a keyboard meetup. So I went to a keyboard meetup hosted by one of the more popular, one of the only keyboard shops out in San Jose, Tiny's Keyboard Shop, and she hosted this kind of trade show, meet and greet, whatever you want to call it, for keyboard vendors. You could sign up, be a vendor, sell, buy, trade, and you can come buy a ticket to participate and see the seller's wares. And 2 keyboards were picked up. Technically, that day we actually got 4, but my sister and her partner got one as well, their first keyboards. First off, we have very polar opposite keyboards here. We have the Keychron Q1 in this white model. This is the knob version, so the newer Q1. And this fantastic kind of coffee, cafe, latte vibes, whatever you want to call it. I was a sucker aesthetically for this, purely just for the look and the keycaps and with the white board. I have 2 versions of this board, like the original Q1 and the newer Q1. And now I have technically a third one, and definitely did not need this keyboard in terms of variety. I purely got this for aesthetics. I'm not even gonna lie. But yeah, this is featuring. These had some reds in it, like the standard Gateron reds that come with this, but I threw some Gateron browns in here, and just for you keyboard enthusiasts, here's a quick sound test. So yeah, nothing too crazy. I am a big fan actually of Keychron. Have a couple of their keyboards. I think if you're new to the mechanical keyboard scene and you're looking for something that's like decent without 100% like breaking the bank, and you don't want to go into like the crazy custom route or like group buys, Keychron is like a nice available off the shelf in comparison to something like, you know, Logitech or Razer or what have you. Now, this polar opposite keyboard, this is a Tofu Junior. This was actually, this is for my partner, her first mechanical keyboard. I've given her like my older Keychrones in the past, but this is the first one for her. Thus the keycaps here, as you can see. These are like some cheap $40 keycaps off of Amazon. They have these little like bunny prints on it. It actually came with these stock keycaps, I believe. I don't know if these are like the stock ones that came with the Tofu Junior. But yeah, the seller had this and these additional keycaps, and she really liked the kind of look and aesthetic of it, the pink vibes, the compactness of this. This is like what I gave 60%, if I'm not mistaken. Has a very bouncy feel to it and style. I don't know if that's the board overall, but yeah, very bouncy typing feel to it. I want to say the switches, I don't know if they're silent, but they're definitely like a silent type of switch in here. I don't remember off the top of my head, but not much to hear here if you do a sound test, but here you go. So yeah, definitely much more quiet, but again, not my keyboard, but set this up and we left the switches in here. But yeah, Tofu Junior, nice aesthetic and build here, very compact at that. So yeah, 2 quick keyboard pickups. With that, let's go ahead and go into some other items I picked up that same day. This is the, where is it here? Looking for it, there you go. 2 items I want to talk about. One, PlayStation 1 Classic, and the SNES Classic, which I actually picked up more recently, in terms of like 2 days ago. I've been collecting for these kind of mini consoles. It's not something I originally planned on collecting when it came to like video game collecting, but as it is with anything like that, you go down the rabbit hole and you kind of expand from there. So yeah, if you don't know what these classic sort of mini consoles are, these are essentially like first-party re-releases and tributes to like obviously very popular consoles and hardware. In theory, all these really are like not quote-unquote Raspberry Pis, but essentially like Raspberry Pi-like computers inside these fancy shells that are meant to kind of play on the nostalgia and offer you that, you know, plug-and-play experience of your favorite retro games, but in a modern format. You can hook this up like quite literally to an HDMI, via HDMI to a modern TV and play. They're preloaded with a bunch of games. So like obviously this comes with like Zelda and some of the Super Mario games and Super Metroid and all of that. So it packs a lot of the classic titles on things like this, which is the SNES Classic Edition. I got this one for $100 at a game store in Alameda in the Oakland/East Bay area. So this is from the Experience Share. And then this one I got from a store quite literally called Game Shop Downstairs, because it's a game shop, you guessed it, downstairs in the basement of a laptop repair shop in San Jose. So this one is the PlayStation 1 Classic. I got this for $60. I like to keep the tags on it just so that down the road I always know like what I got it for at a time. But yeah, same concept. This offers, you know, HDMI connection, its own software to play some classic PlayStation 1 games. The thing about this one in particular, however, it had really bad reviews because of its like library and software. It got really, really bad reviews in terms of just like as a release, and a lot of fans weren't happy with this. However, the modding community made a lot of ways to add your own PlayStation 1 games and add custom software to make this better. So looking forward to that side project. But these come with first-party controllers or versions of first-party controllers. So this is a PlayStation 1 DualShock controller without the analog stick, so this isn't the DualShock 2. And here we have a standard SNES controller, look and feel of the standard controllers, but they hook up via, in this case, USB, and this one is like a proprietary cable that Nintendo made, surprise, surprise, that hooks up to the SNES Classic. So yeah, overall, these are really fun consoles to have for the collection, and excited to kind of play some of the classic titles I never got to play or never had on these mini edition consoles. All right, moving aside from those, let's keep in with the retro theme. A couple other pickups I got recently. N64 games, back on this train again. Here we have Super Smash Bros., the OG Super Smash Bros. Or Super Smash Bros. 64, whatever you want to call it. This was one that kicked it all off, and one of my favorite Smash Bros. Outside of Melee, because it's the one that I played the most as a kid. And yes, you're reading that tag right. I picked this up a couple days ago for $50, which is wild in these retro game prices. Obviously, a lot of it due to scarcity and whatnot, but you can get a AAA title for the cost of this nowadays. The thing is, if you don't know, I'm going for a complete N64 library, whether or not it's NA or Japanese editions. I just want a complete library. So I picked that up. I picked up A Bug's Life for $12. And my approach for this, because I've slowed down in like the N64 game collecting as of late, now anytime I go to a retro game store or what have you, if they have like a grail or like a really good game that I do not have currently in the collection, I'm going to piecemeal it and pick it up one by one. And then typically when I see like these cheap games that I know I don't have in my collection yet, I try to just to get those anytime. Or bundle them and get a bunch, especially at these like game swaps and trades. But yeah, I'm slowly trying to get the big grail pieces and the essential pieces of the collection, and making more of a conscious effort now when I go out and about to these stores. So Super Smash Bros. Definitely had to be added there, and I'm actually excited to kind of throw that on the CRT TV and have some fun playing that again. Let's see, what else do I have here in this pile around me? Speaking of games, both again retro and modern, some other pickups that I got here from the Phoenix Games store in Concord, is also in the East Bay, was Final Fantasy 12, the collector's edition steelbook here for the PlayStation 2. I'll be honest, this is a Final Fantasy game I never played and didn't know much about 12, but happy to see that it was very highly reviewed. I'm a big fan of the Final Fantasy series, and I guess more so 7 and 10. But never played 12. Never knew much about 12, to be honest. So I've been wanting to collect the entire series and go through them all. And I saw this collector's edition in the bin for, you can see right there, $15. And I could not pass up on this because this is CIB, complete in box, manual, both disc with the bonus disc. And the disc itself is in fantastic condition. And at the store, Phoenix Games, they always run it through the disc cleaner as well before you get it. Very well organized store at that. And this was just in their PS2 like bin. And I just saw the steelbook. I don't have a lot of steelbook or collector's editions, so definitely had to pick this up purely just for the collection here. But I am excited to actually play through Final Fantasy 12 down the road. And then on the modern side, Metroid Prime Remastered is a game that I finally picked up. Obviously, this is very popular at its release. Remake of the Nintendo GameCube classic Metroid Prime. One-to-one remaster. A lot of the reviews, people are very happy about this, obviously, and highly reviewed. So I'm excited to dive into this because Metroid Prime is a game, a console I didn't even have growing up. Played a lot of the GameCube at friends' houses, and this was a game that was super, super cool, and never really got to play through it fully. So now excited to play and have both the GameCube version and the Nintendo Switch edition, which traditionally I do not pick up Switch games like physical copies. This is a used copy, but literally I save like $2 off the standard price here. I usually just get digital copies for the Switch, and I think it's because since it's a modern console, I actually do tend to use it a lot and bring it around a lot, so don't want to carry around a bunch of games, but the digital is just more convenient. And in this case, I just saw it, I knew I was going to play this game eventually, so decided to get this game in particular on the physical side. All right, let's keep on moving along here. Power adapter, nothing exciting here. I picked this up the same day I got Metroid Prime and Final Fantasy 12. This is a heavy 3-in-1 adapter. This is just quite literally a AC power adapter for the NES, the SNES, and the Genesis. I wanted something like this, even though generally I try to go first party and always use first party like power cords especially. I figured TTX Tech here, this is just a third party brand, should be good enough just to have for multi-consoles, and it'll be good for the retro setup to make it more convenient and easy rather than having to have 3 different power cords hooked up. I can always just kind of swap them out between the Sega Genesis Model 1, the SNES, and the NES here. So yeah, definitely for convenience. Alrighty, and then a couple other items here. Samsung Evo 970 Plus. Said that completely backwards. 970 Evo Plus. This is nothing exciting or crazy. This is a NVMe drive. This is only 500 gigs. But at the time of this recording, I got this for $30 on Amazon. And they have like a terabyte edition and more and different models for even cheaper or more. For $30, I couldn't pass this up, and I don't know if it's just Samsung getting rid of these models. Obviously, this isn't like the latest and greatest M.2 or PCIe NVMe drive, but again, for backup storage or for like spare builds, and I'm going to be building a NAS down the road, I figured out why not just pick this up for as cheap as it is. So I'll link to this and down in the description below. If you don't have an NVMe drive or you have a spare slot in your motherboard, consider this. I don't think this would work on the PlayStation 5. I might be wrong, but yeah, I guess if it does, then you can use it in that case as well. Next up, one I was really excited for, and I got this a couple weeks back. This is the Miyoo Mini Plus. I was so excited for this that I paid like $30 in shipping just to get it in 2 days from the UK, which, mind you, this thing normally costs like 60 to 70 bucks, so nearly half the value in shipping alone I paid. This is a handheld retro emulation machine or device. It's currently not charged right now because I've been playing it, but I'll cut to some footage here. This is a very popular retro handheld gaming device. The Miyoo Mini originally came out and was very, very popular. The Plus was its successor with a slightly bigger screen and form factor, and is reminiscent of things like the Anbernic devices out there. It's a handheld gaming device, right? Like, it looks like a GameCube, has some kind of nostalgic, design and controls with a modern twist. You have some trigger buttons like you would R1, R2, L1, L2 on the back here, a rechargeable battery with USB-C, and you have this micro SD card, which this actually ships with because it has like hundreds of games on it, if not more. It has Famicom games, SNES games. It has all the way up to PlayStation 1. This thing can emulate and play right out the box. Like, you buy this and it has all of that, and whether or not we want to talk about the legality around that, but you can of course add your own ROMs, do a bunch of cool stuff on this. This is just a really cool way to kind of have like pocket retro handheld gaming right out the box for under $100. Like, if you're in that retro scene or you want some cool fun devices to kind of play on the go or just add to your collection, the Miyoo Mini Plus, if you can get it, I know like stock and finding this is kind of a pain right now. I was thankful enough I follow Retro Game Core on Twitter. He tweeted a deal that he has with, I think it was Droix or DroidX, a UK-based retro handheld site, and I got a sweet deal on this, so I definitely had to pick this up. I'm going to have a full review on this on the Digital Dojo's channel, so stay tuned if you want to check that out. Be sure to subscribe over there. Really, really excited to have this, and the case of it not working right now because I've been playing it lately showcases that. Alrighty, and lastly, to wrap up here on the more modern end, two things. One, I picked up this Sony PlayStation 5 Edge controller, Dualsense Edge controller. This is essentially the equivalent of like the Microsoft Elite controller. I picked this up, one, because my PlayStation 5 controller, one of my PlayStation 5 controllers, is experiencing like, I say Joy-Con drift, but essentially I mean analog drift. My left analog stick has just been wonking out lately, and it's been causing a lot of pain and issues. And obviously I like to have two controllers for my consoles for multiplayer and whatnot, so I decided why not just upgrade and get the best of the best that's out right now, and that is the PlayStation Edge controller. It's like the pro controller for Sony right now. As you can see, slightly different in aesthetics, kind of inversing that black and white theme there on the touchpad, more of a glossy design with those embossed prints of the kind of square, triangle, X, circle patterns. And the thing about these controllers is they have things like these kind of paddle shifters, these additional buttons that you can use to map additional keys or commands and give you that kind of advantage in game. You have these paddles that you can remove and add to the back to give you some quick triggers and do things like melee attack or what have you. And then these are also known for having these adjustable triggers where you can adjust the tension of the trigger, so you can set it on like standard, I would say high, which is just what you're used to, medium, which kind of stops in the middle, and then the end there, which literally not a lot of travel on the triggers. And what that equates to is maybe quicker reaction for aim down sight and just kind of changing the feel. And for the controller, speaking of which, you have different analogs and shifters that you can add to it to adjust for a different feel of your analog stick or a longer analog stick, so on and so forth, all in this cool carrying case that you can put it in, close it up, take it on the go. Even has a Velcro at the top here so you can directly charge your controller in the case. But yeah, this is essentially just the bougier controller for the PlayStation 5, and a very much so equivalent or reminiscent of what Xbox did with their Elite line. So pick this up to have a new controller for my PlayStation 5 and have this a little bit more of a premium feeling controller. Pick this up, and this generally runs for about $150, so definitely up there. But if you want the kind of high end controller for something that you use a lot, especially if it's a console, could be a worthy investment for you. It's to be determined, I guess, when I do the full review and I actually use this for a prolonged period of time. The last thing I wanted to mention, and I did a whole video of this in unboxing formally on my Digital Dojo channel, but thought I'd mention it here anyway, since we're talking about games and pickups. I did pick up, as you can see here, the Nintendo Switch OLED Zelda edition, Tears of the Kingdom to be more specific. I've had my OG Switch for quite some time. I didn't get it at launch. I was definitely late to the Nintendo Switch party. With that, I had another OG Switch model, but just never made the jump to the OLED because I'll be honest, I didn't play this as much in handheld mode. I tend to play my Switch in like the docked mode, whether it's for single player games or like party games like Mario Party or Mario Kart. So I never cared much for the OLED screen. But big fan of Zelda, and with Tears of the Kingdom, I decided why not go all out and add this just to have as a collector's piece. And with the Steam Deck, I've gotten more accustomed and have played that in that case in the handheld form factor. So it's made me appreciate the handheld form factor of the Switch. One thing I really wanted to try out with that was this OLED screen. So really happy I did end up picking this up. I was fortunate to get literally the last one at our local Target here in the city of San Francisco. So yeah, here we have it. The OLED Switch Tears of the Kingdom edition with these kind of custom Joy-Cons, and it has its own custom dock as well. So there you have it. My pickups from the last couple of days, months, weeks, ranging from retro games, controllers, to keyboards and a CRT TV, you name it. All sorts of random stuff has been piling up around me. But like I said, as a collector, I have waves. Like I appreciate the stuff. It still excites me to get. But at the same time, I try to be, in the same sense, realistic in that my backlog is just continuing to pile up as every gamer's is out there. So there's times where I want to stop and appreciate what I have and actually play through a lot of what I have and appreciate it for that sake rather than just keeping on adding on the pile. And I say that, and then I'm sure weeks or months from now I'll have another haul of a bunch of random other crap. But nonetheless, here we are right now. Here's the stuff I've picked up lately. I hope you've enjoyed. Leave your comments, thoughts down below. Subscribe for more content as always. And as always, thanks for watching.